Okay, so this is very interesting actually. We have like this um, teamwork between one and many. Like you have the individual and the collective, right? And there's kind of a teamwork between the individual and the collective. Usually we see the collective to be teamworking with itself, right? But there's actually a teamwork between the individual phenomena and the collective phenomena. So an individual is a hero for the collective, and a collective is a hero for the individual. And this, again, this sounds kind of paradoxical, right? It sounds like that is almost opposite of that one would normally think, but this is kind of to see the individual and the collective as one, as the when like where they meet as the transcendent function in a way together, which is that's yeah, I want to demonstrate this through this uh, science that I found, which is from yeah, it's from Now Medical Studios, so it's possible to read it yourself. Like there's this concept called brain synchronicity, and when people are not interacting socially, their individual brain uh, yeah, their individual brainwaves are quite different. So that basically means when people are for themselves in the individual space, they have a certain way that our brain is functioning in our brainwaves. But when they think, feel, and act in response to others, patterns of activity in their brains align. So basically, when the individual is relating to another individual or other individuals, it's going to change their brain, at least to some extent or a large extent. And the scientists call this phenomenon for interbrain synchrony. Interbrain synchrony. So basically, it takes all the brains in that is relating to each other, and the neurons are going to start to do similar things. It's starting to essentially establish more of a hive mind or a collective mind, which is not always a bad thing, because maybe it has a bad like connotation to it, but like a hive mind basically means to think together is kind of what it means, and that is what I'm talking about earlier. That when I said that FE becomes a new like a group of people becomes a new person. That is kind of the same here, but with the brain waves. That we're kind of more into the TE with that. But they are multiple brains or minds, but when they are together, they become a new mind. They become a new brain in a way. That is the a hive mind. And what is interesting, actually especially interesting about this is that they are not only saying it's about thinking. It's about as they say here, when they think, feel, and act in response to others. So basically, this involves all the functions. That is what is so cool about this, because you have thinking is the thinking function, and feeling is the feeling function. So basically, both the brains and their hearts are synchronizing in a collective group or when interacting, essentially. And the same is true for act. They are going to act similarly. So even actions, and as you know from my theory, maybe if you watched earlier of the presentation, actions in cataronics is both sensory and intuitive. So you have like physical acts, which is what you expect, like smiling and dancing and moving and stuff like that, and you have metaphysical acts is more like imagination, intentions, and so forth. And essentially, when we are in a group, we are also influencing a sort of collective way to act and a collective way to yeah, to act in both physical and metaphysical ways similarly. Yeah. And that is actually not very weird. Actually, if we think and feel in a certain way, we are likely to act in certain ways too, for instance. But this is a very good this is a very good understanding to kind of understand all the functions better, if that makes sense. We could probably see SE as a kind of a collective action, right? So if some people start to dance, maybe that is basically SE, and if another individual comes into this dance circle, they are more likely to start to dance like the other people. Does that make sense? Like they actually feel compelled to dance. While if there was no dancing people there, they would feel much less compelled to start dancing. And that is kind of what's going on with all of this. So if people are thinking in a certain way, so the new person that comes into this collective high mind is more compelled to think and entertain the idea that they are thinking and all the feelings as well. And usually that will result in kind of adapting or adopting the way to feel and think and dance and all of that, and become this collective group in a way, collective being, as I said earlier. And that is what I want to point out here is that this phenomena can be both good and bad. So what is happening is actually that it's still important to keep some sense of individuality. Oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, or maybe even always, at least in some specific dimensions. But like, as we see in this drawing down here, where we can see them, we can see how similar these brainwaves are. You can see that not the red person, the number one, is actually less mimicking the group, which essentially means that this person has been more didn't tune as much into the group, which we can choose when we tune into a group or not. I would say for feelings, FI, and for thinking, TI, will have an easier time to not merge with the group. So they will have an easier time to stick with their own emotion and their own thinking, which can be good and it can be bad. So it really depends on the health of the collective. That is essentially what I'm getting at here. So if you're Einstein, for instance, maybe it's not that good to merge with the collective because Einstein already had an individual thinking that was kind of a higher level than the group in the world overall, at least, maybe even everywhere, kind of was able to tune into or connect with. So Einstein is a very good example of the individual that probably shouldn't merge with the collective, like at least not in the thinking sense. This maybe even if you take Jesus, maybe he was the same in the feeling sense or in the intuition sense, and he didn't merge into this collective way to do things, basically. So I'm not trying to say that it's bad the individual is not a bad thing. It can be bad if the collective already knows better and the individual is kind of stuck in his ways in a way. I think most INFPs can probably relate to that because we, if we feel poor, like if we have bad emotions in a way in our state, and we go into a group and the group is more elevated, we will oftentimes struggle to merge with the collective. Like it's almost sometimes we even kind of try to resist it because we think maybe we have some less good ideas about what it means to be authentic. So since I'm sad, I'm going to stick that way and not let this collective influence me or whatever. And that is good if you're good, if you feel if you listen to music and feel good emotions and stuff like that, and you go into a group who is sad and depressed, maybe it's good to kind of hold on to that emotion you have. Like, I don't see why we are sad. I'm having a good time. That's kind of that's kind of the maybe better situation, but it depends on the context, of course. I'm just trying to say that the individual functions can be more robust in, or have harder time to merge with the collective. Actually, I had to exercise my ability to merge with the collective. So if I attend a party or anything like that, now I do it actually kind of well, because I'm aware of the ability to do it. So I'm kind of getting the if I judge the collective as good, as something that is good for me, I will try to merge in, maybe not in all ways, but in those ways I think it's good to merge. So I can like get these feelings of just having joy and enjoying the moment and all of that stuff. Like, it's kind of, I don't even have to drink that much alcohol, because I know how to get drunk on the mood, if that makes sense. And that is this ability to merge. And since I know how to do that, as well as elevating my emotion independently of the group, when I do both of those, it's really having a profound effect. And maybe even back to them, like, I will raise the vibe of the group too by elevating my own vibe even further than the group could give me, and if that makes sense. So there's a very, very interesting phenomena going on here, which I think we should look much more into when it comes to MBTI and the functions and the introverted extroverted kind of dynamic. Yeah, and the same is true for, yeah, I'm not trying to say the individual is better than the collective. That's the whole point there. I'm trying to say that the individual is a hero for the collective, because basically Einstein kind of elevated the intellectual understanding of the globe or world, or what the global society, right? While a collective is a hero for the individual, because it kind of gives this opportunity to tune into free stuff, basically. Like, for instance, how would I ever make this theory if, assuming it's a good theory, how would I ever make it if it wasn't a collective that already established some groundwork for it, kind of? Because when I found the MBTI, it was like I already made a model for it myself without knowing it in a way. But when I found MBTI, it was like, this is it. Like, this, it just kind of clearly put it down for me, and I wouldn't be able to, maybe not ever get to that like precise way to look at it without a help from the collective evolution anyway. So that is why these both of these are a hero for each other. They are not enemies in any way. That is kind of just delusions we have, because we don't see the paradoxical nature of how these are dependent on each other. Like, you don't have the individual without the collective, and you don't have the collective without the individual. So these are equally important and probably necessary for love to exist at all, right? If we assume that love is between consciousness. Yeah. Okay, so here is more like we're kind of moving over to the feeling thinking domain here, and this is actually a model that I found outside of the MBTI, which is made by, I think, Ken Wilber is his name, and he kind of made this quadrant of different different like dimensions of reality in a way, and he called it the I dimension, which is intrapersonal, and the it dimension, which is objective, the we dimension, which is interpersonal, and the its dimension, which is interobjective. And this is he kind of claims that to kind of have the right judgments and right way to look at reality, we have to have to consider all the dimensions, which is very, very in line with what MBTI and Carl Jung is teaching us. And for me, when I saw this, I kind of saw this instant connection with how this is probably related to FI, TI, FE, and TE, because I is like the intrapersonal world and making sense of the reality through the individual space in a way, the personal space, and that is it's kind of exactly how I see it. So I really found it cool to see how this model kind of just overlaps perfectly with what I'm figuring out myself. So yeah, and there's a lot of other words here. You can read them if you want, but it's kind of I just put words in these boxes I think is kind of related to the boxes, and between the boxes, like I tried to make it like a ish gradual evaluation. So FI, for instance, words I would associate with FI would be like soul and protagonist, personal preference, immersive, creative, poetry, art, morals, authenticity, fantasy, illusion, creation, feelings, wisdom, purpose, poetic precision. Yeah, so that's just some words I associated with that function or that box, and I did that with all the boxes. So for just to say some other ones, for TE I wrote infrastructure, galaxies, hive mind, which is not a bad thing as I just explained, mechanics, metrics, industry, strategy, technology, networks, and so forth. While TI I kind of wrote is related to fractals, atoms, category, matrix, scientific precision, and geometry, math, and so forth. While FE I have connected with spirit, wisdom, meaning, value, culture, social networks, regenerative communication, collective preference, yeah, basically cultural value system, and like the unified self, yeah, and harmony, yeah. So that is just some words I put with the different dimensions in this model, but I think it's brilliant. It's like FI and FE is the interior, is the interior of ourselves in a way, while the TI and TE is more exterior to ourselves, more like concerned with the abiotic, or what is mechanically true in the reality.